Hey, I'm Brian from Bearable Traders. It's Saturday, December 14th. Just going to do a quick video. I don't usually do day trading videos. I usually leave that to other people because I'm doing swing stage stuff. But I just thought I'd throw up this chart here and also talk about this other pattern that's been tradable. And I'm going to call it the drop and pop trade as opposed to the rising devil. So the one trade took on Friday was ATNX. This is the daily chart. People ask me, are always asking me, is this a rising devil? Is that a rising devil? Before the open. But this is characteristic of a rising devil. You can see here, this is the daily, so that's one thing I'll look at. You can see here we've had a nice run up to this drop that happened on Friday, which created the rising devil. So this is the first thing I like to see is some strength. I don't like to see like two or three red bars down and then another gap lower. I always feel like you're kind of chasing things at that point. So nice setup for a rising devil. Strength into the gap down, and I believe this was gapping down on some report about its drug that some results on a drug trial. So let's take a look at the 2 minute at the open here. This is the one thing that I really didn't like about this trade was this pop, and I believe this was the news. Initially, the news was perceived as good, so we saw a nice little pop there. But then, as I guess as people digested whatever came out about it, it dropped below the previous day close. So you can see here that's the gap down that we look for with a rising devil trade. So we had this gap down. It was fairly flat, and then it started to sell off a little bit. This line here is the open, 9:30 Eastern time. So you can see here we kind of sold off. Ideally, what I like to see is a little bit more selling, more candles like this one going into the open, people getting short the stock, and then we get the pop back up to the VWAP, which is the blue line, and that's where we go with the short. So you can see here, I didn't have this on my primary list just because I just didn't like this action here, this pop up, and it wasn't gapping down that much. But anyway, so it did pop up when we got to the open, and this is a typical rising devil trade. Goes up to the VWAP. In this case, it went a little bit through it, couldn't push higher, and then we started to reverse back down through the VWAP. Unfortunately, I didn't notice it until it got down to about here, and then managed to get a short on it as it started to break down through these moving averages, and got out a little bit early because it really surprised me how much it sank. But again, this is your typical rising devil setup: a gap down, pop up, and drop from the VWAP. So again, some of the things you're almost never going to get something that's perfectly aligned. Like, again, we didn't get the nice little sell off. You don't want a huge sell off, but get a nice little sell off into the open. And this pop here was something I wasn't used to seeing on a rising devil. So anyway, still managed to get some profit out of that trade. So the other one that I've been watching, and a couple of them happened this week, is this drop and pop trade. So you can see here, this is AEO. So we traded this, I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember which it was, but there was another one. I think it was DBI, ticker symbol. But anyway, we had a big drop, and so we're gapping down here. And you can see here, okay, so this could be a rising devil. And this is the 930. This is the 930 open right here on this line. But you'll notice here what happens on this trade, and the reason I don't consider it a rising devil is because the price action starts to move up just before the open. And you can see here now we're above the VWAP, not below it. In a rising devil trade, you're always below it. But with this drop and pop trade, you're above the VWAP. So it's showing some strength going into this open. So of course, interesting what happens here is, of course, there's a big gap down. So you get a bit of initial selling at the open, pushes you back down through the VWAP, but it literally held these levels here. And if you'd have traded this as a rising devil and shorted it here. I mean, you could have, if you'd have, you could have scalped it, but you know, the trade was really to the long side because once it held this level, it turned around and went higher, and so you got a bit of a pop on it, and it never really did sell off again. So this other trade that happened on Monday did the same thing, except it really ripped higher. Again, this is something to be aware of if you know, if you're liking to trade these rising devil trades. This is something that you have to be really cautious of. Is if the price action is starting to strengthen into the open and you're above the VWAP, obviously you can't pop up to the VWAP if you're already above it and expect it to go lower. It's almost sets you up for a long trade on this. So call that the drop and pop trade, and we'll see if we can find some of those next week, as well as some rising devil candidates. But that's what I wanted to go over today. Have a good rest of the weekend, everybody. I will be throwing out a swing trade video tomorrow, Sunday, and we'll catch up with you then. And of course, we'll see you in the Bear Bull Trading Room on Monday morning.